I want to bring in now Republican Congressman Mast of Florida, Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman. He is also a retired U.S. Army Staff Sergeant and former volunteer with the Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF. You and I have talked about a day like today, and now it has happened for this family. First of all, your thoughts about where he's now going.
Yeah, so just one, thank God. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you, Steve Witkoff, all for their participation in getting him home. Undoubtedly, as was pointed out, he's going to go receive whatever immediate trauma he might need, assessments on his medical care. There has been conversation about whether after his health is assessed, will he follow on and meet the president, where the president is going to speak with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and UAE, where undoubtedly there will be many high-level discussions about what's going on between Israel and Gaza, the future of Abraham Accords. And if his health allowed it, I think there would be hard pressed to find a more important presence that you could see take place there.
Talk to me about the visuals that we see on the screen, Tel Aviv and Tenafly. And of course, a photo of Edan Alexander in the bottom right corner as we await to hear more word about how he's doing now that he's free. These are communities and the rest of the world, too, that have prayed with such a backdrop of Jewish hate in this country. And it is hard to talk about the love we see on the screen and the homecoming, knowing that there is so much of it already at home here.
Yeah, Harris, you pointed out accurately, we have a president that believes we don't leave our people behind. And this administration has been fighting every single day to make sure that's not just words for America, but that is the policy that we live up to. And I can tell you, for all of the families and the loved ones and just the citizens that you see on the screen, these people have been in and out of Washington, D.C., meeting with myself, meeting with the administration, meeting with other representatives, always making sure that it is top of mind that there are individuals being held, that they are still being tortured, that they are being starved, the conditions that they're in, that there are bodies being held. They are making sure day in, day out that has been top of mind. And they get a lot of credit in this fight, too, as well, for just maintaining that hope and maintaining that they will keep it forefront for everybody to be thinking about. And so the joy that they must be going through to see this pedantic drumbeat of victories coming through, another person returned, it just gives more hope to those that still remain.
Oh, that is so beautifully put and so hopeful. You're right. The job is not done yet. The total job is not done yet. In fact, it comes with a deadline for a ceasefire this Thursday, May 15th. You fought alongside those members of the IDF. What are they facing at this point? And does Hamas even have a clue how fast they need to move now?
You face an Israel right now that's prepared to go in with the full violence of action that they can produce to say, listen, we want everybody returned. We want every body returned. We want every terrorist from the area gone. Every stronghold that you've had as a terrorist stronghold where you've launched operations, they come to an end. There will be no future for any of this going forward. And they will bring the full weight of every power that they can to make sure that is the conclusion. And I think that's what you have going forward for the Israeli military right now. We're celebrating this hope today that we have because of the return of an American Israeli. But again, there are those that remain and those bodies that remain, and there's still an ongoing conflict that has to be dealt with. And everybody recognizes that. And
those families deserve answers. They deserve to know what has happened. And if there are living among them that we may not even know of. Congressman Mast, I'm going to ask you to stand by and listen in if you can, because we have now a guest on the phone, Sue Gelsey. She is the interim CEO of the Kaplan Jewish Community Center in New Jersey. And I don't know if she can hear me.
I can hear you.
You're there. All right. First of all, I can only imagine what it looks like. I know you had the Reuben run yesterday. The place was packed. And so all those people had to do was just stay in their lawn chairs at this point. What is it like at the JCC in Tenafly on the Palisades?
Thanks for asking. I will say we're actually downtown Tenafly right now, and there's about 3,000 people, I'm estimating, have gathered, many of whom have been here since 5 a.m. before the sun came up, hoping to see what we're about to see, the first glimpse of Edan and his family reuniting after a long, long period of waiting.
Look, I have read, and I know that members of his family belonged. Can you fill us in a little bit about what's been going on to support this family and how, maybe just tell us anything about them?
Yeah, and they're a wonderful family. I mean, in Tenafly, we have a large Israeli-American population. They're among them. They've been members of the JCC for many, many years. Edan and his siblings were part of our swim team, participated in after-school activities, joined us on Sundays for basketball and other activities. And we're also part of the vibrant Israeli-American community at the JCC, participating in holiday events and so on. They're a wonderful family, and they're great citizens of Tenafly. The entire town of Tenafly, the mayor is here, the lieutenant governor is here, Congressman Gottheimer's here. People are rallying because this family was all of us.
This family is
all of us.
All of us. Yes. It sounds like you have known Edan Alexander since he was much younger than what he is now, playing in sports. And so tell us about the young man that you remember, and no doubt you'll see that family at some point, what you want to say to them.
We just want to say we are here with you and for you all the time. They know that. We've been really well connected with them over the last year and a half. We had a gathering immediately after October 7th, before we really knew the fate of Edan. We later had a gathering with the family, for the family, where David Broza performed. At the one anniversary of October 7th, we had 4,000 people gather at the JCC, and Yael was one of our speakers, and the whole community embraced her and their whole family. And we just want to say we're waiting for Edan and the whole family to come back to home in Tenafly.
Sue Gelsey, thank you for joining us. I know this is a jubilant time. It's also one of reflection on those who remain in captivity, perhaps living, we don't know. But as a total community, as Americans now, we are with you.
Thank you. And we are praying for the return of all of the remaining 58 hostages.
Yes. We are too. Sue Gelsey, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
I want to bring back Congressman Brian Mast. You know, you served in this country. You served as a volunteer with the IDF. So much of service is about trying to bring about answers for people who deserve them. You're protecting the rest of us. You're fighting for freedom. When you hear Sue Gelsey, tell us a little bit about the history of that family. What goes through your mind as they get ready to do really what is a miracle at this point?
They don't call it a sacrifice for no reason. And that community is well familiar with individuals traveling abroad to Israel, being what they call lone soldiers, not having family there necessarily, but having to be hosted by other families and willing to carry a rifle in their time of service, in all likelihood, in defense of that country. It's very likely in any period of service, they're going to have to pick up their rifle in defense because of the constant attacks that take place. They know that risk, and they undertake that risk anyways as young people. And it's just a great demonstration of, any of us with families, we know that we want our families and our children to grow and thrive and have the next generation of our families. We don't want them to have to go to war. And that's the reality for these families year in, year out, with the barrage of rocket attacks, the abductions that take place, the stabbings, the bombings, the everything. And it is time for this to come to an end. President Trump has been speaking about, we have to turn the page on this and bring this all to an end, not just with the terrorist groups in Gaza, from Hamas and Hezbollah and Palestinian Islamic Jihad and Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade and Lion's Den and Fatah and all these terrorist organizations, but with the terrorist arm that Iran is playing across the entire region, with all of those groups and with the Houthis as well and others. There has to be a turning of the page. And I think this, again, is going to be a huge part of his conversation as they are meeting with Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar, is what can be done to bring about a new Middle East, a new age for the Middle East and America and all relationships that doesn't involve the kind of past that we've seen.
You sound more optimistic than I have ever heard you sound about that particular issue. We've been to some dark places here recently with Hezbollah firing into Israel, and we know that was guided and paid for by Iran. We've seen so much in the last few years, really. Yeah,
look, the hope, and I don't mean to beat this just horse about President Trump, but the hope comes from a different vantage point, a different perspective, willing to look at the world and approach things in a different way. He's still the president that was willing to bring Soleimani to an end on the side of an Iraqi tarmac, and that has put on maximum pressure on Iran and secondary sanction on other countries. Buy from Iran and defend the United States of America and our shipping interests and everything else. But he's the president that's bringing back, again, this drumbeat of Americans and Israelis and sending envoys out to be these negotiators to get these people back and to say, listen, we're going to sit at a table. No matter how ugly it is, we're going to sit down at a table and we're going to have the most difficult conversations, because we're not stronger because we avoid a conversation. We're stronger because we have the difficult, ugly conversations, but we actually know where we're really at in this situation. And that's a different vantage point and perspective from the strongest American president we've ever had.
I'm going to ask you to stay with me for just a couple more minutes, if you can. Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gobb, retired Army Battalion Commander and Black Hawk pilot, is going to join in now. And Lieutenant Commander, I want to ask you about these next moves. I don't know if you've been listening to our conversation, mine with Congressman Mast, but these next moves are important. You've got a ceasefire, and Hamas respects nothing. So we don't know how this is going to go. We do know that there was maximum pressure put on them, and Edan Alexander is coming home. The president today said very sternly, when he made his pharmaceutical announcement a short time ago, he also talked about this topic. He knew that Edan Alexander would be freed imminently, and he said, we want the rest of the hostages, and we want their bodies if they are not alive. You know, where are we exactly in this moment with Hamas? Will they listen?
I think Hamas has to listen at this point, because there's not much of Hamas left in the first place. And they recognize the fact that both Israel and the United States, as really true, strong allies, are not going to stop giving up or putting the pressure on Hamas itself, as well as any other proxies, until we get done what we need to get done. And that is simply leaving no soldier or person left behind. That has been the message of this entire presidency. We're getting people back from overseas that the American people never even knew were missing in the first place. But to one of your points also, is sometimes it's hard enough to win a war. It's even more difficult to make sure you win the peace. And hopefully that peace comes very soon. And it involves Israel's being able to say that Gaza has been truly pacified, Hamas is controlled in some manner, and they can bring actual peace to at least the Gaza region, if not to the greater region out towards Lebanon, the Houthis, and maybe these Abraham Accords can come back in full strength and we can see something great bloom in the Middle East.
Yeah, the Abraham Accords. We have Congressman Mast still with me. Are you still there?
I am.
I want to ask about that. That was like one of the only things that Biden did not undo, the Abraham Accords, and how critical those accords are now that President Trump put into place. And moving forward, if you could hear the lieutenant talking right there, what are your thoughts?
It shows the strength of what President Trump put into place. That, again, you point out, one of the only things that President Biden did not get rid of. But not just did he not get rid of him, even in the midst of his administration, you had all of these other nations throughout the Middle East coming forward and saying, how do we expand here? How do we expand here? How do we find room for negotiation and relationship in this way? What the snowball or the rock that the president pushed down the hill, it created a momentum in the Middle East. And undoubtedly, that was something that Hamas and Iran has feared incredibly, because every time that ball kept getting more and more momentum, it was against them. And you see even more going on now with Iran's biggest ally, Bashar al-Assad, being ousted from the entire region, from leadership, and a new leadership in Syria. You see massive inflation going on in Iran, their weapons systems being ineffectual against the United States of America or Israel or anybody that's in the region. You see all these things playing out. And then these countries saying, okay, we want to find a way to turn this page and have not just diplomatic relationships, but trade relationships, business relationships. And it is a changing world because of that ball that the president started rolling down the hill over 4 years ago. And it's a testament to it.
It is so important for people to listen to you both about where we are at this moment.